Hey guys, it's Godbars here, the self-proclaimed hip-hop historian, and this is the 309th episode of my series, where I grab a vinyl from my collection, talk about why I love it, what influence it has, and what its place is in the grand scheme of hip-hop. So as I alluded in my previous video, today we have yet another classic LP that came out in 1986, and it happens to be another iconic trio that changed the course of hip-hop drastically. In fact, this is pretty much the only other group of three that can possibly stand in the same conversation as Run DMC, when it comes to this era at least, and of course I'm talking about the legendary Beastie Boys, and their debut studio full-length, Licensed to Ill. There's actually a lineage of trios that have been featured on the page so far, some of my favorites being Ghetto Boys, Little Brother, Cunning Linguists, Cypress Hill, Deltron 3030, Fugees, The Locks, The Alcoholics, Diggable Planets, Cloud Dead, Das Racist, Flatbush Zombies, and Loot Pack. However, none of those guys have shown up on the page more than Beastie Boys, as I've already touched on their work twice previously on the channel, when I covered their 1989 magnum opus, Paul's Boutique, as well as 1994's Ill Communication, both of which I'll leave links for down below in the description. What made the Beastie Boys debut here take so long to show up on the channel, despite easily having enough impact to warrant being in the first 50 uploads, is truthfully Licensed to Ill has taken a while to grow on me as much as it has, and even still it can't quite hold up to my favorite projects from their storied discography. The thing is, we're dealing with a debut here, so I can't hold it against the boys that they hadn't yet perfected the complex sampling and chopping techniques that they would play with on the following LP, or how they were yet to really develop the sharp flows and witty rhymes that would show up more and more across their 90s output. I mean, after all, at the end of the day, Ad Rock, Mike D, and MCA were super fresh faces on the scene at this time, and the promise, talent, and creativity oozing out of these songs was absolutely undeniable. While they technically formed back in '81, they had originally spawned out of the hardcore experimental punk scene going on in New York, before making the transition into hip-hop and making some pretty notable early success through touring with Madonna, before crafting their first official studio full-length here, which all things considered is pretty ahead of its time, especially when compared to what was going on for the most part in the mid-'80s, mainly through the production and variety of sample material. You also have to commend how awesome this album art is, and while it may have been kind of unfairly tainted in retrospect due to that awful Eminem album, tricking your eye on the record shelves, the iconic half of that Boeing 727 was a key indicator that these dudes were thinking far past what the average rapper was considering in terms of packaging their art. I mean, 99% of covers for hip-hop LPs in this era featured the rapper or group just unimaginatively standing around, and pretty much every project that the trio released after this point was just as strong in the album art department. I think my only reservations that have traditionally kept Licensed to Ill a bit behind the top Beastie Boys projects for me personally is how it's sort of a victim of the time period it was created in, where the slower pace of the instrumentals and flows mixed with the heavy rock influence that also permeated other landmark LPs of the era, like LL Cool J's Radio, Schoolie D's debut, Ice-T's Rhyme Pays, or really any of the first few Run DMC albums, results in a sound that, while essential and completely necessary in the development of the genre, hasn't personally aged the best in my opinion. There was really never a period where I can recall being a fan of massive hit songs like Fight for Your Right. I think it was just a bit before my time, and then for years I kind of just assumed the entire album was of that same ilk. And I didn't really consider returning to it and giving a full front-to-back listen until a couple years ago. And I do remember very clearly how taken aback I was when I did so, and realized how diverse and wide-reaching this thing really is, especially with the genres it pulls and takes inspiration from. Also, there's definitely something infectious about their youthful energy here, and they utilize the snarky, sarcastic attitude that they carried over from their days in the punk scene to make up for any technical shortcomings that may emerge when it's your first official full-length and the pressure is on. This paired with the fun, engaging blend of samples, and hard, kind of Fat Boys-esque drums, is more than enough to warrant tipping your hat to this debut and recognizing it as one of the true staples of 80s hip-hop. And while License to Ill didn't include any type of features or guest appearances outside of musicians like Kerry King of Slayer, who showed up to play some guitar on the LP, the Beastie Boys did team up with legendary producer Rick Rubin to make this happen, before ultimately going their separate ways after this album due to creative differences. When it comes to my honorable mentions for this one, I have a good handful of killer tracks to shout out, including Rhymin' and Stealin', She's Crafty, Posse in Effect, Slow Ride, Girls, Brass Monkey, Slow and Low, Time to Get Ill, and Hold It Now, Hit It. Then for my top 3 favorite songs overall, I would definitely have to go with The New Style, Paul Revere, and No Sleep Till Brooklyn. Thank you for watching my 309th video. We only have one more LP left in this set of golden classics, so tune in for that one, and if you enjoyed, be sure to like, subscribe, and let me know what moments you return to the most off this unforgettable debut. Don't forget to have a great day, and I'll see you next time, okay? Alright.